All right, game ended about an hour and a half ago, and didn't really go the way I expected, but the ultimate result was pretty much what I expected. So Huskies win 44-31. Offense, they showed up in a big way today, and they made sure that we were going to get this win. Huge shout out to Miles Gaskin. Huge shout out to all the running backs on this team, really, but especially Miles Gaskin because there was a point in this game where he had 14 carries for 23 yards. The game was tied. It was 24-24. He had had some good carries, but he had also had a couple of negative carries, those -5, loss of 6, loss of 5 type of carries. And that really drug his performance down to the point where he was not even averaging 2 yards per carry. And then changed everything with one carry, 86-yard touchdown, one play drive, got us up by 7, and we never looked back from there. That was the big turning point in this game. That was the play of the game, and it really opened things up because after that, Gaskin had a much better game, and by the end, he had like 186 yards rushing. And by the end of the game, even if you had taken out that 86-yard run, he still would have had a pretty good game. He still would have had 100 yards, 4 yards per carry. He still would have done his job. So those guys took care of it, mainly Gaskin, but Coleman got some carries as well. We used multiple running backs, and we ended up racking up, I think, close to 300 yards of rushing. It was a great passing game. There was a stretch where the passing game looked as good as it had all season. I think Browning completed like 10 straight, 11 straight passes or something. But other than that, it was just fine. It was okay. It was, Browning missed a couple of deep throws down the field, but he also made a couple of good ones. Joshua Perkins and obviously Jadon Mickens had the good game. I especially shout out to Joshua Perkins. He's been a pretty good tight end for us this season, and today was probably his best day. No turnovers from the passing game in terms of picks, of course. So pretty good. Browning looked comfortable and confident in the pocket. That's the kind of stuff you really want to see because we're looking ahead to next year and the year after and the year after that. And it's good to see him have that kind of confidence stepping up in the pocket and taking off when the play's broken down. He did that several times today, picking up yards on busted plays where, 3 months ago he would have gotten sacked. 4 months ago he would have gotten sacked. Today he picked up positive yards, picked up some first downs with his feet, and it wasn't a dominant game for him by any means, but he ended up close to 300 yards passing, and you got to say he did his job. So that's your offense. Other than a little bit of trouble with the offensive line in the first half, I'd say, and mostly in run blocking, pretty good. Pretty much everything you could ask for. Defense, as for those guys, can't say quite the same thing. It was not a very good day for this defense. I'll give credit to the pass rush. Elijah Qualls had a sack. Actually, I don't think Travis Feeney had a sack, which is pretty weird that you have a game where you get good pressure on the quarterback and Travis Feeney doesn't get a sack. I'm not used to seeing that this year, but there it is. And the pass rush was good. Run defense was pretty good. There were only a couple of good runs for Southern Mississippi today. But our secondary was not up to the task today, and it would not have taken very much for them to have been the reason why we lost had we lost. Um, two touchdowns from Michael Thomas today. And, Michael Thomas, he reminded me of another Thomas today. He reminded me of Demarius Thomas over in Denver. He has that same kind of big frame. He's got a big body. He's got long arms. And there were a couple of plays today where he would catch a comeback route, run down the field and then run back to your quarterback. And then he would just turn around and take off and blow past our pursuit angle of the safety. And he scored a touchdown on both those plays, just completely obliterated the pursuit angle by the safety. Twice. So I know he's fast. I know that has a lot to do with how good a player Michael Thomas is, but that was definitely frustrating to see. And there were two other plays, and this is another area where Michael Thomas made me think of Demaryius Thomas. He had two plays that were either a touchdown or a 40-yard, 50-yard gain, depending on if anybody had caught him or not, and he just dropped it. He got open, he got behind the coverage, he got behind the secondary, and he just dropped it, like Demaryius Thomas has been known to do at points in his career. Point is, he beat us and then he messed up. It wasn't anything that we did. So Sidney Jones had a very, very bad game today, and he was a big reason why things got out of hand on our defensive side of the ball. He was a big part of the struggles that we had today, and a lot of what Southern Mississippi did today and a lot of what they almost did was on his back. So yeah, most of the problems that we had today were because of our secondary, and to me, I'm not exactly going to get too down on that because it was more important for us to see good things from our offense today, because the offense is the unit that we're going to be seeing for the most part here next year. You know, we're going to see Browning and Gaskin and most of the offensive line. Marvin Hall, I think, is coming back next year. I think Pettis is gone. I'm pretty sure Mickens is gone, but you know, a lot of these guys are going to be back. So I wanted to see the offense do good today, and they did. They played probably their best game of the season, over 500 yards. And, you know, they left a couple of things out there on the field, like the first drive of the game. They go for a 3rd and short around the 30. Browning misses an easy throw to pick it up, and then they go for it on 4th, and they don't get it. But really, other than that and the fumble, there's not a lot bad you can say about the way the offense played. So my frustrations today, mostly on the secondary for giving up quite a few passing yards, not forcing a turnover, which the closest thing we had to the turnover was blocking the punt, which was big in, you know, us sealing the game. But yeah, pretty good effort. A little concerned by how badly the defense played, but most of those guys aren't going to be back, or a lot of the key guys are not going to be back next year, so there's no point in sweating it too much. So 7-6, winning season again. First would have been our first losing season since 09, so it's good to get that done. And we go into the offseason with a very young team that showed me something this year. 7-6, better than I had them at. I had them at 5-7 and missing a bowl game entirely. Alright, so I'll be making a video a few days down the road just to try to summarize the whole season and talk about where I think this is going to go. But today I'm just going to be talking about this one game. And this one game, I pretty much summed it all up. MVP of the game, Myles Gaskin. Should have had 5 touchdowns, but couldn't quite get in there at the end. Wish we had gone for it on 4th and given him the chance to get in there on the last drive of the game, but it's whatever. He still had the 4 touchdowns. He still had 186 yards. And he's a guy who should be here for at least a couple more years. So that's really exciting to fans of this team. So bow down to Washington. Good win today, and we'll see what the future holds.